how is your eye interpreting the thing that's happening? How quickly is it telling your brain in a different part of the brain, the motor cortex, to tell it to express training that you've done your whole life? That's the game.
Fight fans, welcome back to Black and Bane. History will be made this Saturday at Karate Combat 40. Robin, great card, even better main event.
Yes. So main event, Aghayev versus Josh Quayhagen. I want to tell them right now what we're doing. We're going to watch Aghayev versus Raymond Daniels. And this should glean us a little. We can dig into it a little bit, because when you watch Rafael Aghayev, sometimes you don't actually understand why he's so great. And he is. People overstate, like, especially MMA, but combat sports of all kinds, people are overstate everything. This guy actually is the greatest. He really is unbelievably better than almost everybody else at the game of fighting, and we'll be able to watch him.
Without further ado, let's get into it.
I'm so stoked. So when we have a spot in the back where you can analyze from many different angles, but for this one, you gotta, like, I'm somewhere up in the front, like, you gotta get right there. It just, these are very, very special martial artists. So you see what Ray did there? Ray will do this.
The sort of flicking the...
Yeah. And I said to him, I watched him one time when I was sitting with him, and I'm like, Ray, you're just sort of testing the space, right? Like, you're implying space. And he's like, you see that? Like, yes, I see that. This is what I do.
Yeah.
This is what I've done for, like, 50 years of my life. But yeah, he's just testing the space, and he's trying to imply what the space is. Make the space seem bigger and longer. Because a guy, of course, is way shorter, so he's got to jump in and get in really, really tight, which he's doing right here.
It's not really distance management; it's distance manipulation, maybe.
Yeah, he's telling lies, right? The game of fighting is that you want to tell lies to it. Ray hits the knee a few times. Aghayev lands that. When he throws his overhand right, it's a modified reverse punch, Gyakuzuki. It's a modified reverse punch. And it isn't the punch. So we'll go, oh man, this guy's an amazing overhand left from the southpaw stance. It's just a tool. It's the artist that's amazing, right? It's how the artist uses it that's amazing. And how he manipulates this space. And so over and over, we're seeing, why is he so close to Ray? Ray's a genius in his own right. Ray doesn't want him that close, but he is that close. And that ability is incredible. Like, the ability to be, look how far away he is now. So now Ray has to move towards him. So Ray moves towards him, and then there'll be a right there. There's a moment, you're moving towards me, and he'll know exactly the time to come in and land. And he lands. There, Ray lands one of his own. But Ray is a genius of playing with space and time. And this guy's one of the very few people on earth who's Ray's level at that. And he's fought 100 people of Ray's height and length.
I was just about to say, the big speculation was obviously Raymond Daniels, a much larger opponent than Rafael Aghayev, but Aghayev, no problems with it.
Every single man he's probably ever fought is. You don't fight a lot of. Ray has fought 200, 500 humans in a variety of fighting, but not a lot of them is this body type. And with this deceptive speed and this kind of footwork, but look how close he is. Like, he's so. It's very hard to quantify the how and why he can do this. And that's what makes it so special, because he's doing things that you can't do. You can't just jump in on Ray in close, but it's little manipulation of feel and of essence of it. It really is beautiful.
The tempo's never quite the same with the entries from Aghayev, and a lot of the times where he's in close, he's touching the hips, sort of feinting some grappling.
You see Ray there attacking. Now Ray's coming forward and he stands his ground. So Ray's throwing kicks, and he's moving out of the way as the kicks come. Now Ray is moving forward as an attacker, and he stands his ground and literally just takes him down. Yeah, it's an unbelievably beautiful thing. But yeah, you're right about tempo and cadence and rhythm and all these things. That's a 7, 8, 9 years ago, when Conor McGregor was coming up in MMA and in certain other areas in kickboxing. Look, see how he touches the hand? Yeah. See, you'll probably watch he'll touch the chest. Now watch, belly, right? Always knows exactly where he is. So touches Ray's hand. There, Ray's hunting him. Now watch, Ray. It's a deceptive standstill. Moves towards him. Right? It's just so brilliant, and it's big scale manipulation. Right? But you notice on those replays, one, he touches the hand. with his right hand and then comes over top. The other one, he actually touches the belly because he doesn't care where he is. He just knows he has to be in contact with you. But if this hand can touch you, his left hand can touch you as well, right? So both those, there's so many things going on. To be able to beat Ray in some of these, beat him to the punch, beat him to the hand-eye coordination, like to the speed. Ray is so brilliant. Ray talks about the dominant eye too, and that's actually a kind of an interesting concept. Why is Rafael's left hand backwards? You know, I haven't asked him this, but see, most of the time it is. Presumably, actually, his right hand may be his dominant hand. And a lot of karatecas who came up at his era put their dominant hand forward, but also that works if your dominant eye is forward. And at a game speed like they're playing, your eyes and your brains is everything, right? It's everything.
It's mental.
How is your eye interpreting the thing that's happening? How quickly is it telling your brain in a different part of the brain, the motor cortex, to tell it to express training that you've done your whole life? That's the game, and that's what that's his superpower, is processing speed. It's so cool. It's so cool.
When we shift the narrative to sort of here, Raymond Daniels, a guy of a karate versus karate, Quayhagen, extensive mixed martial arts background. Stylistically, that feels like there might be some answers implicitly in Josh's approach.
So yes, Aghayev is very good at his own style of grappling, wrestling, judo, you know, Japanese throws, whatever you want to call it, wherever it came up. So I don't think that Josh looks at it and thinks I'll be able to beat him by taking him down, because Rafael's so good at it. He's also very low. But the generalist, it's kind of a generalist versus specialist, right? And a generalist, there are advantages that the generalist has. The specialist is not only a karate specialist, but a specialist at closing distance and landing his left hand or taking you down. He only really has 3 of his favorite things that he works together. Aghayev, that's a hyper specialist. It's a specialty of a specialty of a specialty. Whereas Quayhagen, that's smart by Ray. Whereas Quayhagen is a generalist. He's brings in aspects from all different kinds of martial arts, and there are advantages to that too. This is when Ray did very well. I think this is round 3, and is it round 3?
Round 2.
Is that really? That's only round 2. I mean, we can see clearly we've been talking a lot. I've been talking a lot. Ray started to kick the low leg, which is really smart. But look, watch, he's gonna So you notice there, he catches the leg and then he rotates him. So he rotated him effortlessly, right? Off the one leg, just a rotation. And you can see how, and there's the left hand again. Really, it's take you down, get to the clinch, and possibly take you down and punch you in the face on the ground, or throw the overhand left. But it's these 3 or 4 things he does so incredibly well, he can beat you with just those. And there, caught it again, and this time to the overhand left. The other time it was to the throw. But you see how good he is when he's got a piece. That's a fastball. And there, also, he's reaching, right? You're told not to do that when you first start taking karate. But when you're a master, you can break these rules.
Yeah. Rules are just suggestions, I feel, Rob.
All rules must be tested. This is the only rule that I have. And a great music producer actually was reading his book, and he came up, he presented that idea. All rules must be tested.
Now, at the round number 2, the end of it, rather, you see a guy kind of chain together a combination where he threw that left, but then he also goes with a high kick and then ends with a right hand, building off of that touch left.
Yeah.
Right? That's got to be a dangerous thing.
Yeah, it's spooky. Watch here on the replay. He gets in tight here, and then bink. There's the left hand. So how many times, and then this time he'll catch. Watch the rotation on this kick. Watch, he just turns him. Oh no, that time he kicks. Oh yeah, he does rotate the shoulder as he kicks out the leg. And then it lands. There, slip, and then back in. Touch, again, see, touched with the right hand. So once we had him touching the hand, once we had him touching the belly, now we had him touching back to the shoulder. He's always finding that range. And so in his body, it works like I'm throwing 2 punches, but really it's a calibration and a punch, but it's expressed the same way as you would train to throw 2 punches. But yeah, when you add things onto the end of something when they're already working, that's where somebody's getting like confident. Like, you know, your left hand works, you're going to land it, and you know the timing game, the little manipulation game you play is working. Once it really starts to work, then you're like, oh, then I'm going to throw it right after it. Then I'm going to, yeah. And there he lands the left again. That's hyper specialty. And then from here, he's super dangerous too.
There's a lot of aggression from Aghayev that I don't think one would maybe assume just based on the optics, but when he gets to that ground and pound sequence, he's really letting loose.
Yeah, he really is. And his hips are low. There's a lot of things. Like, when you see a real master of anything, you realize, like, there are times, John Jones, John Jones, the MMA fighter, is a brilliant fighter, but he has some physical attributes that he was born with, that he built them around. Many of those are advantages. They're advantageous things. Whereas this man, you would look at him and go, he has disadvantages, right?
But the height.
Yeah, the height. But he didn't look at them as disadvantages. He looked at them as attributes. These are my attributes, and I will build a game favorable to these attributes that make these attributes difficult for you to deal with.
And also controlling the center. You know, he's really just operating right around that Hedera circle in these rounds. But at the beginning, kind of dancing on the outside. That's a real big switch in cage generalmanship, as one would say. Here we see start of round 3, 2 minutes, 53 seconds remain, and Raymond Daniels brought to the ground immediately.
Yeah, he had good moments. Like, Ray came in shape too. Like, that's the thing about this. And Ray's such a great martial artist and a great man. He'll say this. He's like, that man beat me on this night. But it's a great fight. But Ray had some really good moments in round 2. So Aghayev comes out really aggressive in round 3. But you were talking about how kind of sort of deceptively aggressive he is. Like, he's sort of just a 40-year-old guy with a hairy chest. You know, he's kind of quiet and whatever. But yeah, there's a real, like, I was put on earth to do this, and I'm better than everybody attitude when he fights, and not in an arrogant way. Just in a, this is what I am. I am the master of this, and I'm going to beat you. And he can be aggressive. It's really cool to see.
Tell me about the difference between Raymond Daniels, a constant state of movement, and a guy who's just kind of plodding, right, analyzing.
Yeah, it's so hard. It's like, what do you do, right? And we've seen that a lot of people move a lot. The last 10 years ago, when I started to see this happen, in other martial arts, I would call it the movement. There was like a movement towards people moving a lot more. Early days of any martial art, and that will apply to, we're only in 40 karate combats. Early days, you kind of move together and you do your offensive things. And then eventually you move. Over time, what happens is when people are as fast as these two guys are, right? So look how wide they are right now. When you're as fast as they are, basically in fighting, space is time relative to speed, right? So when we're this far apart, we have more space, but we also have more time. Yeah. We have more time, and it's tenths of a second, but tenths of a second are what are going to matter when you're dealing with Raymond Daniels or Aghayev. Those fragments of a second, which we gain by being at a distance, we can actually process more information, right? So that's why they stay at range, and Ray manipulates that, right? So people moved a lot more. They moved more. So all of a sudden, you would see guys, and we saw this with the lightweight champion when he fought Skrivers. He went into the middle, and he put up a high, strong guard, and he took a stance, and he stood there. Because if everybody's moving, not moving is powerful. If everybody's not moving, moving is powerful. And not just because doing the opposite of what you see here. So Ray's moving a lot. He can be a little more stationary and draw him in. Not just because it's in the time, but in training. Like, fighting is a liquid. It's like a living organism. So it happens, the way that you see fighting happens because of how we train. And if in the gym, we're all training moving a lot, then we're getting used to people moving a lot, and we start to deteriorate that ability to handle a stationary thing. It seems unfamiliar. Hey, my training partners don't do this. And so any time that there's a movement towards anything, by the time you're trying to figure out how to do it, it's too late. You have to be ahead of the thing.
Would you say that Aghayev's game plan is causing uncertainty?
Yeah, Ray actually is really good at sort of making you unsure, typically. And Aghayev's game in this fight, to me, was literally, he made it about that reaction speed, game speed. And Ray it is as fast of a processor, a fighting processor, seeing what's happening, making the calibrations. Think about what happens. Like, this is happening to you, and I'm moving, and you're moving. The brain, if I throw a baseball to you, and you have to stretch or move or whatever, over time you're training, your brain sees it, and it's instantaneously, without your effort.
Muscle memory.
Making calculations as to where it's going to be, and then making your body move in such a way that it will get to there. That's happening over and over and over and over in this. And it's all brain, it's all game speed. And Ray is as fast as anybody. And Aghayev was just a tiny bit faster, and he made this fight about game speed. And if Quayhagen cannot win a fight with Rafael Aghayev that is about game speed. That is about processing speed. He cannot win a fight like that. Nobody can. But he can win a fight with Aghayev that's about tactics, it's about ruggedness, it's about toughness. And so, and Ray has some other great moments here. He's a brilliant martial artist. He landed that leg kick a few times. Sometimes people will say, why didn't you do that more? Well, the reason it's working is because he's not doing it that much.
Right.
Sometimes they're like, oh, I'd like to see that jab more. The jab's working so well because you're not seeing it so much.
If I throw it more, a guy will get the timing down and find
it.
Exactly.
That's just a thing commentators say. It's not. It doesn't make any sense if you really think about it, right? Oh, I'd like to see him throw those leg kicks more. Oh, you would you? Because then he'd get counted.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. And great fighters will say it just because they heard other great fighters say it. But it's not. It doesn't. That's not how it works.
How about this, though? Because Aghayev does go back to the well so much with that touch left hand, and now 2 minutes left in round number 4. It's still landing. There's no answer.
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it's really because it just is the processing speed of it. It is one of these rare scenarios where he's created like a sort of psychological and biochemical advantage. He's gonna get there faster than you. He just is. And it's so cool. Because you're right, we're literally saying, hey, if you do it too much, it won't work. And he's literally made a career out of doing that thing. Now, it does vary, and this is another level of it, the real high level of it is I'm showing it to you enough that now you think you have it. Oh, you did figure it out. Now I'd show it to you at a different...
Slight variation.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll see this when people who actually don't do martial arts will sometimes talk about martial arts. They'll be like, this guy's using the exact same entry. He wants you to think he's using the exact same entry. He wants it to you, a non-martial artist, it may appear the same. He wants it to appear the same enough to actually trick Raymond Daniels. So it has to be so subtle of a difference that's how he tricks him. But it's high level shit. Like, it's just so high level.
Now, 50 seconds left in round number 4. I'm curious, tell me about the late game of Aghayev, because we're deep in this fight and he's still an absolute powerhouse and right there with Raymond.
Yeah, and I actually don't know how or why that is, because I don't think he's saving anything.
Right.
I don't think he's like keeping a storage. He just, some of these people in any sport or any type of performance just have the ability to take it up another level when it matters. And I think it's emotional and I think it's psychological. Like, it's just, oh, we're here again. I know what to do here.
Yeah.
I know.
I don't need to go to that next level because this one's working.
Yeah, and I have there. Ray landed some hard. Ray's a big, powerful, elastic kicker and kneer, and he landed some hard stuff too. You don't sometimes think of Aghayev and think of his ruggedness and his toughness, but it was very much there. But when I was saying Josh can't win a fight about processing speed, I don't think he can. Most people can. Even Raymond Daniels didn't win one, and Raymond's a genius, true genius. But Josh can win. One way Josh can win is, how we were saying throughout, Aghayev will measure, and he landed on the shoulder, the belly, the hand, and he's in touch with you, right? One thing Josh does super well, and it's not recommended to, most people wouldn't say, hey, fight like Josh Quayhagen. Even Josh Quayhagen probably doesn't teach his students and friends to fight like that. Because what it requires is like a certain amount of swagger and toughness and and the desire to overcome and stuff, but he hits you when you hit him, right?
Yeah. So there's that immediate response.
Yeah. And even like trying to do it simultaneously. To do that, usually you're going to get hit.
Yeah.
So one of the things we'll see when Josh fights Aghayev is Josh trying to land when Aghayev hits him. And of course that sucks because you're going to get hit. And Josh's game won't be make him miss and hit. He'll try to do that, but when that doesn't work, and inevitably it's really hard to do with Aghayev, he'll settle for you hit me and I'll hit you.
A tit for tat.
Yeah. And that's why he's fun to watch. And he wins fights like that. That's the other thing. When you ask, how come Aghayev can take it up a notch? It's like he knows he can. And part of that, the rest of us find ourselves in unknown situations. We don't know what we're capable of. You know, if the house was on fire, we all like to think that we'd be the guy to run in and save the baby, right? Run in and save the old lady, but we don't know that. He knows he can take it up, and Josh Quayhagen knows he can win fights where he's getting hit and he hits while hitting, right? Josh just knows that, and because he knows it from experience, because he's done it and it's worked.
I guess that's why he's called the most resilient man in karate combat.
Yeah, Josh is awesome, and he can win this fight for sure. He can't win this fight. He can't win the fight Raymond.
He can't
win that fight, but he can win this contest by making it a different kind of fight. But yeah, it's going to be really cool. These last couple of minutes were wicked too, and the intensity of it. Because Ray, and remember, you'll see it just as we're winding this fight out. They sat on that stool for a long time while they were calculating, to see if there was going to be a sixth round.
Yeah.
You know. So because it was close, we know there's some bias in how we're describing this. How I'm describing it, a natural bias in that Aghayev is fighting for Josh, so we're looking at it from his standpoint. Also, we know he won, so we're looking at it retrospectively.
The hindsight of it is,
and that is definitely. And Raymond's my favorite fighter, one of my favorite fighters on earth of any discipline. So that hopefully tempers it back a little bit. But humans are biased. We know he won, so we're looking at him more so. This was a close fight and a really intense fight. Raymond came in crazy shape, and you see him here how badly he's turning it up too. There's a bit the overhand left again. Round five, and there again, it just doesn't.
1 minute, 15 seconds left, and it's just the confidence seems to have grown. And maybe the tactics haven't changed from round one, but like we mentioned, it's just still landing. It's just still working.
If you're sort of looking at the aesthetic of it and, of the punch, it doesn't, you don't go, oh, wow, that guy's got the greatest punch I've ever seen. It's something about the when and the why and the how of it, not the what of it. It's just a left hand. He's just throwing his left hand. But when he throws it, and why he throws it, and what he tells Ray or anybody that's fighting him, the lies he's telling, the little step off to the side that he uses, the weird rhythm and stance there is, and now he's just finding it. If he's got a hold of you, he's going to land it. If it's going to land over here, he's just going to get it in there. And
like you were saying, mechanically simple, but maybe the other dimensions and wrinkles of that punch are just.
It's wrinkle. I like that. There, Ray landed that a few
That
times.
was a good
It
knee.
hurts, man, and it's right out.
Yeah.
So we hear about the liver a lot, but this little area, up to the outside of the armpit. If you've ever been kneed there, and Ray goes for it again. Ray knew he was in this fight. Bias, post-fight bias aside, he knew he was in this fight, and he needed and wanted to take these last couple of minutes. And so did Rafael. And there is Rafael landing the right on the exit that time. Back to your point earlier, there's the right again. There's no time left, right? So why get out here what's the risk if I throw one?
Right.
The reason we didn't see a lot of that follow-up right hand is because you stay there. I'm going to stay longer. I land this. Just that extra half a second of here, I'm staying here longer. And against Ray, that's real dangerous.
And that's the risk-benefit, right?
Yeah.
At that point, a guy was like, you know what, this risk, worth it.
10 seconds left. They both felt like they needed this, and like I said, we'll see the winner, but they sat there for a long time while we were assessing whether there was a sixth round or not, because it was really close. They both wanted it. But those right hands at the end are exactly that. It's like, I can stay in here longer now because the risk is less. Hopefully I don't get laid, and you don't have time to think of anything.
You're not visualizing yourself
there's
back
that
down.
knee. But and that definitely hurts. But yeah, it was such a great fight. There's the right at the end, and he did get hit. See, he did get hit on it.
There was a bit of a backup.
Right? He did get hit on it.
So we can see a guy maybe making some mistakes.
Yeah, well, he took the risk. The reason he didn't take that risk a lot earlier is because he might get hit. When he took the risk, he did get hit. So he was right. He was right to hesitate on that. Then he took some risks when he had to. But they're here going, okay, if there's a sixth round, can you imagine how relieved? I know they're both passionately into this fight, but the moment you hear it's over, it's like, the human brain wants to get you out of a fight.
Yeah.
No matter how long and how much you've spent your life in fights like these guys, your brain would like to get you out of danger if it could, and this is dangerous. But, I wish they could both win because they're both so great.
Don't we always?
Yeah, I wish they could both win.
I think this is, again, the quintessential Rafael Aghayev performance. He displays a bit of everything, the tools that we're probably going to be seeing Saturday night.
Yeah, and that in the end it is the biology, like the neurobiology, that makes him special. That's what it is, and that's why he can, use a few key weapons, and because he's just a neurologically faster human through training. He wasn't born like that. He made this. He created this in his body. And Josh knows that you don't win a fight by making it about that. And Josh has a real shot. 7-1 odds or something like that. That's pretty crazy. Like, I know this is the greatest guy. This is the greatest fighter. But everybody can be beaten, even the greatest.
A lot of questions will be answered this Saturday night live at Karate Combat 40, free on karate.com and Karate Combat's YouTube. Robin Black, thank you for the time.
Enjoy the hostilities, my friends.
Thanks for watching. I'm Layla, and if you liked what you just saw, make sure you subscribe.